looking for a place to go write for a few days in the midst of a traveling summer. It turned out that the midwife who delivered my brother's college best friend now lived in a Buddhist center in the mountains of Northern California. They could rent me a retreat cabin for $20 a night. Writing among the Buddhists turned out to be an interesting and welcome change from writing around other artists. The Buddhists were completely non-competitive and wholeheartedly supportive. They didn't ask what other residencies you'd been to or aspired to go to. Instead, they spoke of other Buddhist centers they'd been to or aspired to go to. The Buddhist practiced empathy had a positive effect on my self-discipline. "What are you going to work on today, Emily?" they would ask over breakfast. I thought I would work on this real whopper of an essay I've been chugging along on. I'm trying to draw a connection between decadence, tourism, and the exploitation of indigenous people through the lens of a love affair. It's about 50 pages, which is kind of an odd length, but I think it's really starting to come together. The Buddhists, fresh from their prostrations and on their way to their mindful chores, would look me straight in the eyes. "Well, I hope that goes well for you," they would say, almost shaming me into deep focus with their total presence. If they could clear poison oak from the paths or slice vegetables for dinner with such purity of intention, the least I could do would be to give the morning my best shot. Over the course of my stay, I spent a little quality time with each of the Buddhists. One of them gave me a tour of the significant landmarks at the Buddhist center. He showed me the spinning mantra wheels and the place where the original lineage holder's ashes were buried. After the previous lineage holder died, a special committee went into Tibet to find his successor. This was achieved by giving baby boys a choice of various objects, some of which the lineage holder had owned and some of which were decoys. The baby boy who picked the object the lineage holder had actually owned revealed himself as the new lineage holder. But how did they know which baby boys to even show the objects to? So our leader, before he died, gave some hints on where he was going to reincarnate because he has conscious birth. I couldn't help it. I had to ask. If he's capable of conscious birth and knows where he's going to reincarnate, why doesn't he just tell you exactly where he's going to be before he dies? That's a good question, smiled the Buddhist, and I don't know the answer to it. Another morning, I had an interesting talk with a woman about my own age. "Before I came here, I'd been doing all kinds of wasteful things," she volunteered, "like drinking and smoking and having sex." "Uh-huh," I said uneasily. "But I don't have to do that anymore," she said. "Oh no? How's that going for you?" "It's really good," she sighed. She had also given up wheat and dairy. We were in the communal kitchen. She was mindfully putting away the non-dairy spreads for her wheat-free breads. Over lunch, someone mentioned that they had read about a woman who worked for Kellogg Brown and Root in Iraq who had been gang raped by her co-workers. The woman who had given up drinking, smoking, sex, wheat, and dairy said, "You know, it's easy for me to feel empathy for the woman because I identify with her, but it's a much harder part of my practice to feel empathy for the rapists. I'd like to have the opportunity to personally castrate and then kill the rapists," I said. The Buddhist looked disturbed. "I mean, I'm not a violent person," I added. "It is part of my practice to get my heart to crack open for all humankind," said the Buddhist. "How do you deal with hearing about things like this?" I launched into a long diatribe about systemic violence, institutional violence, corporate violence, military-industrial complex, post-traumatic stress disorder, empathy, and dehumanization, concluding that the rape of the female military subcontractor was both a sadly common occurrence and a metaphor. "You speak with such detachment," said the Buddhist. I did not want to be detached, but I also did not want to give up drinking, smoking, sex, wheat, and dairy, and then spend my time trying to feel empathy for military subcontractor gang rapists. The Buddhist's eyes were filling with tears. "Oh, honey," I thought, "you may think you're crying for the gang rapists, but I don't buy it. Have a nice big glass of wine and cry for yourself." The Buddhists had spent many years raising the money to build these gigantic spinning mantra wheels. They consisted of millions of mantra written out on paper and then rolled in giant scrolls that spun continuously inside a large open-air pavilion. The big ones were motorized. And then there were little ones you could spin with your hands as you passed by. The motorized 4x4 pavilion was prominently placed on the property and loomed lit at night. The Buddhists had all very earnestly explained how the mantra were very powerful, and the action of their constant spinning sent incredibly large amounts of positive energy into the world. I found the whole thing absolutely terrifying. Walking around at night, I felt instantly nightmarish every time I even approached the pavilion. The noise and motion of the wheels was anything but sacred. These unattended things quietly grinding and growing was somehow both threateningly mechanical and eerily demonic. I would hurry past the pavilion only to come upon a tremendous sculpture of some mythical Buddha being wielding a giant scepter, also brightly lit. Its painted eyes were wide and crazed, and this too was frightening. At this point in my evening constitutional, I'd turn around, sprint back to my cabin, and cower on the sleeping platform, grateful for the darkness. During the last lunch of my all-too-brief stay at the Buddhist Center, I was chatting with a woman when the term Jubu came up. You know, Jews who get into Eastern religion via meditation or yoga and become hybrids, Jubus. I was joking about how I was hardly a Jew, so I couldn't really be much of a Jubu. But since it had been so nice here at the Buddhist Center, I'd be willing to give it a try. As our laughter over the word Jubu died down, the woman said, "Are you going to become a Buddhist to try to reverse the karma of the Holocaust?" It takes a lot to raise my Jewish hackles. Really a lot. I have got to be one of the most anti-Semitic Semites out there. The two things I hate most are authority and hypocrisy, so I am naturally wary of organized religion. As a person of 100% Jewish descent, Judaism was the first organized religion I had occasion to be deeply suspicious of, and I deserve a special place in my general wariness of organized religion for it specifically. But still. "Excuse me?" I said, very slowly. It bears mentioning that the woman who said this was not a resident of the Buddhist Center, but merely a neighbor of the Buddhist Center. "Do you think it's time for the Jews to work to change the karma that caused the Holocaust?" repeated the neighbor of the Buddhist Center. "Now it's fine with me if these folks want to meditate every day and do their 108 prostrations and follow the word of their deceased lineage holder, and whichever children may have in their toddlerhood shown an affinity for a shiny object once held by their deceased lineage holder. It's totally okay with me, and I am not saying that their leaders are not capable of conscious rebirth, and that they do not achieve enlightenment, that they do not levitate, that liquids do not travel backwards up their penises, and that they cannot see the essence of all things. For all I know, they do, and I hope they do. Clearly, meditation makes people better and happier people, and clearly these people have a really beautiful community together, largely outside the conventions of normal society, something it always warms my heart to see. Though they are doing whatever this one guy tells them to do, which it does not ever warm my heart to see, but maybe that is something they need in their lives in a way I cannot understand for myself, but appreciate. And they are not hurting anyone, and paths are many, truth is one, so whatever works for them, as long as they let me be me, is fine. And have I not also fallen under the spell of charismatic individuals whom, though they are deeply flawed humans, function as demigods among their willing followers? And have I not also taken at their drunk, stoned, rambling words certain charismatic individuals who have not merely advised me to meditate, but also on occasion incited me to vandalism or dangled me off cliffs? Indeed I have, so who am I to judge? Now I can and I will not only tolerate, but say myself a whole range of things about Judaism. I will say, for example, that I support no state, and certainly not the state of Israel, the Jewish law, and in fact all religion is nothing more and nothing less than an institutionalized form of obsessive-compulsive disorder that has little, if anything, to do with spirituality or the divine, that all of it was invented by sexophobic, misogynist, power-mongering wackos for the express and exclusive purposes of socioeconomic, psycho-spiritual, sexual control, that it is all, as I was told as a small child by my own parents on the steps of the first temple I entered, bullshit! That American Jews of Ashkenazi descent, of which I am one, too often fit our stereotype of being high-strung, neurotic, anxious, depressive, pushy, obnoxious people with weak physical constitutions, that these problems are exacerbated by inbreeding, which is misguidedly encouraged in pursuit of a kind of eugenic fetish stemming from the fantasies of racial purity, ironically reminiscent of the views of Hitler himself, That I personally have never dated a Jew, that I greatly enjoy systematically profaning the laws of all religions, particularly the Jewish religion, especially by eating particularly pork products on Yom Kippur, eating leaven products throughout Passover, drinking alcohol and caffeine, preferably simultaneously on the grounds of Mormon temples, that I take a perverse pleasure in deliberately bumping into Orthodox men who are afraid to touch unclean women just to fuck with them, that I take a perverse pleasure in behaving lasciviously toward young male Mormon missionaries just to fuck with them, that I recognize that these practices are themselves juvenile and in some way represent a kind of through-the-looking-glass, reverse perverse practicing of religion as anti-religion, if not a hate crime, or at least a hate misdemeanor. That I was never bat mitzvahed, that I believe circumcision is absurd and barbaric, that Passover is the celebration of a genocide poorly disguised as a liberation narrative, and that piety always, without fail, masks perversion. I say these things as a Jew and a human with an openness to and deeply felt love for all my fellow Jews and all humankind, and recognition that this is only my personal opinion and experience, that not everyone shares my view, that some people, including those very close to me, find great comfort and solace in organized religion, be it Jew, boo, or otherwise, that these people have always been very understanding of my insanity in this and all areas, perhaps paradoxically because religion has helped them to be more compassionate, and that we can all peacefully coexist, just like the ubiquitous bumper sticker says. But seriously, lady, where do you get off insinuating to, let alone outright saying to the face of, a Jew, even this Jew, that Jews somehow brought the Holocaust upon themselves in some karmic way, and that this karma now needs to be reversed via your own brand of religion? So help me God, I should have cut the Buddhist bitch. Thank you.